Your experience at Halloween Horror Nights can either be amazing or terrible. And the difference comes down to planning. Whether you're a local or somebody that's traveling in from out of state, planning can be a little bit daunting. But don't worry, we've been going to HHN for years, and we're gonna give you 7 tips that we guarantee will make your trip unforgettable.
Tip number 1 is to give yourself enough time to enjoy the event. 2 of the house announcements so far this year are absolutely massive, with Stranger Things 4 being possibly the biggest announcement the event has ever gotten. The only thing that might rival it is the first time Stranger Things came to the event in 2018. But you also have The Last of Us this year. And when you have big IPs like that, you're gonna have massive crowds coming to the event.
The last time that Stranger Things was here in 2019, we regularly saw the wait time at 150 minutes, 180 minutes, even over 200 minutes, and people were still piling into that line. So we fully expect every single night of this event to be busy. So what you don't want to do, especially if you're somebody that is a completionist and wants to go through all of the houses and maybe some of them a couple of times, you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to actually do that.
A question that we get all the time is, can you see and do everything in one night? And if you go back on the channel and you see videos from like years past, we have always said maybe, but I'm just not sure that we agree with that this year. I think it's going to be extremely hard, especially if you don't have Express Pass. And typically with Express Pass, we have felt very confident that you can do every house, see all the shows in one night. But with these 2 IPs, I think it really changes the dynamic of the event. I think you're gonna see some very large crowds, and it might not be possible to see and do everything. The only way that you can guarantee that you see every house, see the shows, do all the fun things, is to get an RIP tour. And if that's out of the question, we get it. Those things are extremely expensive. So if you're wanting to see all the houses and see the shows, this year we're probably gonna suggest that you get multiple nights worth of tickets.
And while we're on the topic of how many nights you're gonna go to the event, our next tip is to buy the ticket that you actually need. Universal offers a range of different tickets from the event, all the way from single night tickets to multi-night tickets that get you in every single night of HHN. And it's pretty easy to sit down and look at your dates and compare the different tickets to see which one is the most cost-effective for you. But there's one ticket that confuses absolutely everybody, and that is the Scream Early ticket. All that this ticket does is it gets you into Universal Studios between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. So if you have any type of ticket that gets you daytime access to the park, so this could be an annual pass, this could be a multi-day ticket or a single day ticket, you do not need a Scream Early ticket. All that this does is get you into the park so that you can get into Stay and Scream. And if you don't know what Stay and Scream is, don't worry, we're gonna do a beginner's guide here in the next few weeks where we do a deep dive into all of the nuances of HHN, especially Stay and Scream, because it can be pretty confusing as well. But all you need to know for a Scream Early ticket is that if you have any other type of ticket that'll get you into Universal Studios on that day, you do not need a Scream Early ticket, so save your $40 and spend it on food. Tip number 3 is to buy your tickets before you get there. Last year, there was something like 20 nights where the event completely sold out. And the event is not gonna sell out every single night, or at least we don't think so. But it is gonna sell out some nights, and it's really hard to predict when those nights are gonna be. So what you don't want to happen is say, oh, I'm just gonna wait and I'll buy our HHN tickets when we get to the hotel because it's nice and convenient. And then you get to the hotel, you've got your entire trip planned, and you find out that HHN is completely sold out for that night, and you don't get to go to the event, and your entire trip is ruined, and your entire life is probably ruined. And the moral of the story is just make sure that you buy your tickets beforehand. And this also goes for multi-night tickets. So last year, there was like a 2 or 3 week period where Universal paused the sale of multi-night tickets, and we had no idea if they were gonna return or not. So a lot of people panic bought single night tickets and spent more money than they needed to. And so what we learned from that is that absolutely nothing good comes from waiting.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything good that happens if you wait to buy tickets. So if you wait till you get there, they're more expensive. You have to wait in line to buy the ticket. Then you have to wait in line to get into the event. And the tickets are really expensive. So you want to spend as much time as you can utilizing the ticket, being inside of the parks. So yeah, nothing at all good comes from waiting, which is the exact opposite of what my mom told me growing up. She said, everything good is worth waiting for. So my mom's a liar. Tip number 4 might honestly be our favorite tip for the event, and that is to hype yourself up for going to HHN. And there are a ton of ways that you can do this. One thing that we used to do is we'd watch our favorite content creators on YouTube, you know, like the Pugh, who just have a ton of great HHN content on the channel. Maybe even watch old house walkthroughs. There's a lot of those on YouTube, especially the Pugh from last year. It is just, it's really, really wonderful. But seriously, that's something that we used to do. We'd watch our favorite content creator, you know, Pugh. All right, I'm done with it. We're going on to what we really like to do. And something that we have done, I think, just about every year that we've come to the event, is we have watched shows or movies that are associated with the houses that are going to be at the event. Like this year, we are currently working our way through The Last of Us season. We just rewatched Stranger Things season 4. We need to watch the Chucky show. Yeah. But I think our favorite thing that comes from it is trying to find movies that are associated with the original. So there's always original houses that Universal Creative comes up with for the event. And so there's not a movie that you can necessarily watch that is like, that's a representation of that house. But every once in a while you find a gem. You know what I'm about to talk about. Back at HHN 29, they had a Yeti house. And we searched high and low, and we finally found a movie. And it was, it was bad. It was terrible. It was a D-rated movie. Honestly, like, the only people that probably watched it were us and the actors' families, maybe. I'm not trying to dunk on it. Like, they did a wonderful job, but it was low budget. Like, they got paid in Gatorade and Doritos, and that was about it. But what it did for us is it made that house so much better. Yeah. We looked forward to that house, and when we got in there, we laughed about it because there was somehow some similarities where it was like we'd see the Yeti and it'd be in a similar situation, and it just made that house. I think it's one of our favorite houses from that year. And when it first got announced, we weren't excited at all. I just think it's a great way to get ready for the event and associate some memories with the planning stages.
But seriously, this is one thing that we absolutely suggest doing. Obviously, this is one of our best memories from Halloween Horror Nights. So good. And it was just some like terrible movie. And I think why it makes it so fun is that you're doing all this work and all this preparation for a relatively small event. So whether it's a weekend or a week, or even if, you know, you live down here and you can attend the event for all 2 months, it's only 2 months. And so if you take the time to watch these TV shows and enjoy these movies, it stretches it out. It makes the experience even longer, and it just makes it an even more fun process. Because when we were traveling down from Tennessee, like, one of our favorite things was the planning phase, because we got so excited and we were so hyped up about, oh my gosh, we're gonna get to HHN and we're gonna do all this stuff. And like, that's half of the fun. So if you take one tip from this video, please let it be this one. Tip number 5 is to check back on your hotel rates. Even if you're a local, it can be a really great idea to get a room for HHN, because at the end of the night, you are going to be absolutely exhausted, and having a room that is that close where you can just crash on the bed is so nice. We've got a room for opening weekend because we know that we're gonna be tired. But typically, when you book a hotel room, the earlier in advance that you book it, the cheaper it's going to be. What we have seen with Universal is that sometimes in the last like week or two before your travel dates, they will drop those hotel prices substantially. And so what we suggest doing is just to keep an eye on those, check them you know, every week, every day, however frequently you want to check them and see if they do drop, or if you could even get like a nicer hotel, one of the premier hotels for a really great rate. And then if you do find that the price has dropped, all you have to do is call Universal and they will happily rebook you at that lower price. We have had so many people tell us that they have saved a ton of money by just paying attention to the rates.
Tip number 6 is to check the weather before you come. And that may seem mundane, and it kind of is, but I know what a lot of people think, and it's, oh, Halloween is in the fall. And so sweater weather, baby. Yeah, that's not a thing in Florida. Not in October, at least. If you come down here wearing nothing but sweaters, you're going to die. I wore one the other day, and I regretted it the entire time. It was for a joke, but it still wasn't that funny. It is still extremely hot down here in September and October. However, Florida has this weird way to throw a wrench in your plans, and every once in a while, you'll have a cooler night. I won't say a cold night. Like, you're never gonna need to pack a week's worth of Patagonias or anything like that, but a singular pullover might be something, especially if you're coming in late October. A pullover might be something that you want to pack. I can't remember, it was last year at some point, we had one night where it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying, like, oh, I'm from Wisconsin, 60s isn't cold. Well, it is when it was 94 the day before. And when you walk into the houses and the AC's blasting, you're probably gonna get cold. That sweat that you have on you from earlier, that gets really cold. We had a friend last year that came to the event for the first time, and right before she left, her and Anna were on the phone, and she was like, yeah, I've got like my blue jeans, and Anna was just like, oh, no. You're gonna wanna put some tank tops in your suitcase. And that's the thing. The weather down here, it's generally pretty hot. Don't worry if you see rain in the forecast. They're wrong about rain quite a bit, but the temperature, they're pretty accurate.
Tip number 7 is to have a game plan before you get there. Now, we're not telling you that you need to have like a workbook with timestamps and, you know, like what house you're gonna be at exactly this time, but you need to have a general idea before you get to the event. So at HHN, time is precious. And what you don't want to do is go to a house in the back of the park and then run to a house in the front of the park and then back there and waste a bunch of time doing that. And the event can also be a little bit overwhelming. So what we suggest doing is we suggest that you look at a map of the event to see where all of the houses are. So you can find this on Universal's mobile app and get a general idea of the layout. And then we also suggest that you have a plan for what stay and scream area you're gonna start at, what house you're gonna go to first, and then whether you are going to start in the back of the park or the front of the park. And the house that you start with kind of determines that. And you should also look at show times if that's something you're interested in, because HHN is really loud and it's really busy. There's a bunch of people, there's scare actors everywhere, there are people, you know, like chasing you with a chainsaw. And if you don't at least if you don't at least have some idea of where you're going, you're gonna get really overwhelmed and it's hard to figure that out in the moment. So at least have those things figured out before you get to the parks.
If you've never been to the event, or if you have, you can attest to this. The houses aren't blatantly obvious where they're at. I think it's they're pretty easy to find, but you're not gonna accidentally walk through a house. I mean, they're backstage, they're off the beaten trail, so you have to find the entrances and know what you're looking for. Like, if you've never been to the parks before, I can see why there can be some confusion, because we get messages every once in a while about how they couldn't find this house or this house. And I think it's just because they're unfamiliar with the layout of the parks. Yeah. And so we just always suggest at least knowing the general area where things are, and worst case scenario, if you just can't find anything, you can always download the Universal app, and the app will give you directions right to the entrance of whatever house you're looking for. You should now be completely ready to go to the event. Don't worry, you're gonna have a ton of fun. And if you feel yourself needing a little more preparation, we are always here to help. If you have any questions, you can reach out on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and we are pretty good about getting back to you. And then we have tons of videos that you can watch. Like I said, those Pugh people, they are wonderful, especially this video right here. This is a walkthrough of all 10 houses right there. You should watch all 44 minutes and 33. I don't remember how long it is, but watch all of it. Okay, bye.
Bye.